Shalom Yasharallah, this is your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakudash, the honor to the apostles and elders, a great millstone that taught us this truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you, Aki, on pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump to this here article real quick, as far as, you still have these things that's going on over there, with Russia and Ukraine, but, a lot of people are focusing on the so-called the effects of the lives of the people as far as deaths and things like that. But nevertheless, in these same scenarios, you have what they would call extra blowback, all right, or other so-called quote-unquote casualties of war, all right. And these casualties of war aren't necessarily seen on the so-called battlefield as far as people dying and getting blown up. All right, but nevertheless, as we've been speaking on these things, as far as the economic effect of these things, all right, I want to go into this here article to pull out some of these things. All right, so this is an article from RT. It says, economists explain how ban on Russia oil and gas would affect Germany. All right, also, we see multiple prophecies coming to pass, we're going into the famines on the earth, all right, wars and rumors of wars, all right. Then you also can see how these things are affecting, America's so-called allies, all right, getting into what the whore hating the beast, all right. So, hey, we know by measuring the time diligently that, hey, we're almost here at the end. All right, so let me go ahead and read this. It says, sweeping sanctions will spur double-digit inflation and crash the economy. All right, hey, it pretty much sums it all up there. All right, it says economist Daniel Shelter has warned that a possible boycott of Russian oil and gas in response to its offensive against Ukraine will badly hit Germany. All right, and so you have to understand about, Russia supplying Germany and, the rest of Europe with natural gas over there, man. All right, because, again, they supply them with, a higher quality, all right, at a cheaper price than what America can get to them. But see, America keep trying to sanction, Russia with their Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines and things like that. All right. And they also flow, around and through those regions. So a lot of these so-called wars that people see, when we go into, America goes over into your country and steals your resources. All right. Let's say hypothetically, you build up, let's say a pipeline, to draw oil through your area and things like that, and if America, if you bypass America and their corridors, guess what? They finna roll up on your shores and try to go to war with you just so they can have possession of that territory, just so they can tax you on their oil. Because why? You're trying to so-called break away from, paying that so-called tax to America. But hey, America has their hand in everybody's cookie jar, man. All right, going into what Habakkuk 2 and 5, never keep it at home. All right, but nevertheless, let's keep going on. It says, freezing Russian assets was a smart move. Nevertheless, not much has changed. And really, it wasn't a smart move because it ain't doing nothing but just, how they say, adding fuel to the flame. All right, you just turn one problem into an even bigger problem, man. All right, you're trying to put a fire out by sprinkling gasoline on it. It just got bigger and worse, man. All right, so let's continue on. It says, let me see. It says freezing Russian assets was a smart move. Nevertheless, not much has changed. Russia remains autonomous and still has revenue from oil and gas exports. The founder of the podcast Beyond the Obvious told Focus magazine on Sunday. The bottom line is that there are now two options of what's going to happen: the bad one and the very bad one. All right, because hey, like I've been speaking on a lot of these things, man. All they really doing is putting more and more money into Russia's pocket. You're the one, how they say, you're putting the battery in their back, man. All right, again, of all the, you encroaching on their territory is what sparked them to start, ultimately it's the Lord, but, in a carnal sense, you encroaching on their territory is what's getting them to start to bolster up their military equipment and things like that, man. All right, when you trying to, cut off certain deals and things like that, which is supplying your allies, is making your allies turn on you to where they don't want to be friends with you. All right, so this is all bringing them to their own demise. But nevertheless, it says the first scenario is stagflation, rising prices amid a stagnating economy, Shelter argued, adding that sanctions and continued warfare will cause a massive problem for the food industry, all right, which is going to hit damn near everybody, like I was saying about that blowback, that collateral damage, all right. You have people around the globe that ain't nowhere near in that territory that's going to be part of that collateral damage. Why? Because it's going to hit them at the grocery store lines, It's going to hit you at the gas pump. All right, and you know people are already so-called struggling financially. All right, and these things are just making it even worse. All right, so what? Who started this whole thing, man? Who went over there and started stirring up the Bears den, or you know, wherever bears live? You know, it says Russia and Ukraine account for around 25% of wheat exports. Ukraine account for 90% of sunflower exports. Corn and barley also come from there in a significant quantities, the economist said. It says Shelter pointed to the bread price hikes during the Arab Spring's anti-government protests and riots in the Middle East in the early 2010s. We must be careful that it doesn't happen again, because one thing is clear: a farmer in Ukraine has no time to cultivate his field if he must fight Russia at the same time. So, hey, you know, it's like a domino effect. Well, if I'm normally over here farming and producing this here produce to ship out so that the world can eat, and now I'm over here at war, who's going to be tending to my fields? All right, and if you can't ship those things out because it's a hot zone over there, again, you know, that's going to cause whatever you do have, the price of that shipping to go up because it's you know, a danger zone, more let's just say. All right, so hey, all these things have consequences, man. All right, and you know, most, you know, the people here in America, you know, dwelling carelessly, they don't even think about these things. You know, at first, you know, all these the Ukraine story was big in the news, and they was just bigging that up, and people was, oh, that's sad, that's sad. Then they went right back onto their partying. All right, they went right back because it wasn't so-called affecting them over here. They wasn't seeing planes flying overhead and bombs dropping in their territory. But no, these things are still going to wind up affecting them one way or another. They just don't realize it just yet. All right, it says gas, coal, and food prices will rise significantly. It worries me, the economist said. The worst case scenario will be a global boycott of Russia and oil and gas, Shelter revealed. And what do you think is going to happen when, you know, when you try to so-called strangle Russia off from the rest of the world, or so-called turn them into like the next Cuba? All right, nah, man, Russia, and the difference between Russia and Cuba is Russia got a whole big-ass military. Now, imagine if the world tried to do that to America. America will bomb the world to oblivion if they try to cut them off from trading with China, because, hey, what's America's life support, man? All right, trade or imports, really, you know, whether it be from China or these other countries. But what if they was to sanction all of America's banks and their trade and their gas and their oil, man? America would shut down, so America would be forced to go to war. So what do you think Russia's going to do when it comes to the push comes to shove, man? All right, but, hey, right now, what you have is you have some of these American allies and things like that that's still over here trying to fight to cut deals with Russia, because that's their life support, man. All right, this is beautiful how it's all falling in place. All right, it says we have a double-digit inflation rate and our economy will collapse massively, he argued. All right, so, hey, you know, they already know what's going on with this here, you know, economic collapse. Sanctions always hurt both sides. It's ultimately a question of who holds out longer, and Germany will be hit hard because its dependence on Russia is disproportionately high. All right, that's one of America's allies. So once they start seeing that what America's doing is starting to affect them, when they ain't got a dog in the fight, like, bro, like, we ain't got no problem with Russia. Y'all got a problem with Russia. Y'all keep going up on their doorsteps, and now it's affecting us, man. All right, it's just like, you know, you have a roommate or something like that, you know, and, you know, you're a good so-called tenant and everything else like that, but now your roommate always inviting somebody over to the crib. Now they throwing big-ass parties. They putting holes in your walls and breaking up a whole lot of stuff, causing you to have to pay damages for your apartment. It comes to a certain point in time where you tell your friend, which is your roommate, hey, bro, you're going to have to go, man, because you costing me more than, you know, you're supposed to be helping me pay some of this here rent as an aid, but really you costing me more money than what you saving me, man. So you got to go, and I got to replace you with somebody that's more beneficial unto me. All right, it says Shelter said China has been stockpiling raw materials while we hardly have any reserves, all right, because America sells off all their damn stockpiles of everything and import everything else, man. It's such a backward system, but nevertheless, hey, that's all. It's all being, you know, done up that way on purpose. But continuing on, it says he also noted close ties between Moscow and Beijing. There's a big danger if more technology goes from China to Russia and more raw materials go to China. I believe the biggest winner in destabilizing the world will be China. It's tragic because we should have done everything we could to bring Russia and Ukraine closer to Europe. We can't do it now. See, that's where they messed up. They should have been actually trying to go for peace. But like the scriptures say, his words were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. All right, but nevertheless, let me read this last paragraph here. It says, many countries, including the U.S., U.K., EU member states, imposed sweeping sanctions on Russia, hitting its banks. Among other things, the majority of European countries closed their airspace to Russian airlines, and Moscow responded in kind. Numerous companies said they will suspend sales and services in Russian, which we've been seeing that go on as well, too. But nevertheless, hey, when you go, let me go back up to this paragraph. It says it's tragic because we should have done everything we could to bring Russia and Ukraine closer, and we can't do it now. All right, because hey, like I said, let me grab this first and Psalms 55 and 21. All right, it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Because ultimately, he will say one thing with it, out of his mouth. We're trying to do everything that we can to make peace and everything else like that. But ultimately, they just had a talk not too long ago between Russia and America where, they pretty much had their negotiations. And Russia was like, look, Ukraine can't join NATO. And, basically what NATO was saying and America was saying is like, look, they can join whoever they want to join, bro. You can't tell them who they can and can't join. All right, basically trying to force, Ukraine to join NATO so they could bring them into a World War III, all right, and stop them from getting this here, how do I put it? Set up their little armaments on Russia's border because they know what the end game goal is going to be, man. All right, then the second thing they said was like, look, man, y'all got to remove y'all missiles off of our border. But look, America was like, nah, we're not moving back. But what was the thing that they said beforehand? Let me go up a verse. It says, he put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He had broken his covenant. All right, because going back to, NATO at the end of World War II, they said that they wasn't going to move an inch closer towards Russia. And what have they been doing ever since then? All right, like I said, every one of his moves have been actually bringing him closer and closer to this here war with Russia because, let me see. Yeah. Because ultimately, like I said, man, yeah. So ultimately, like I was saying, man, for instance, them keep encroaching on Russia's border. It's causing Russia to do what? How's it causing Russia to respond? By creating more and more of these defensive and offensive weapons. All right. With them rolling up into Ukraine, what is that forcing Russia to do? All right, put troops under their border, all right, and go ahead and try to stop them before they roll up into their spot, all right? But nevertheless, let's read this in Job 18 and 7. It says, the steps of his strength shall be straightened. His own counsel shall cast him down. His feet, all right, so his own counsel, his own planning, his own doing is bringing him to this here spot, man. All right, for he is cast a net by his own feet, and he walketh upon a snare. All right, and hey, again, this is all where we're at right now, man. All of his own doings are all of the things that's blowing back on him is of his own doings, man. All right, because hey, the gas prices and food prices about to start going up here in America. Why? Because America decided to stick their nose into other people's business, man. They didn't ever want to stay at home. We'll grab that next, but nevertheless, it says, verse 9. It says the jinn shall take him. The jinn shall take him by the heel, and the robber shall prevail against him. All right, like the scripture say, how long to him that laid himself with thick clay? Because thou hast spoiled many nations. All right, all the nations shall spoil thee. All right, and it says, say how long? All right. It says, the snares lay for him in the ground, and the trap for him in the way. All right, because again, you keep forcing the bear going to come out striking on you. All right, let's grab this real quick. All right, Habakkuk 2 and 5, it says, yea, also because he transgressed by wine. All right, those covenants, those agreements and everything else that he makes with these other nations, but he winds up breaking them all. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desires, illness, his death cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. All right, for what? What point, what purpose? For these, the resources, man. All right, that's why he's over there in the Ukraine, man. It's not because he want to help these Ukrainian people want to do anything. No, he goes over there and destabilizes your country, all right, for the resources, so he can have his hand in everybody's cookie jar, man. He can't never have enough, man. All right, he's making all this money on this here side and all his other ventures. Let's just say hypothetically, you making $100 billion, man, right? Every single day. Now, you see the little girl in the neighborhood selling lemonade, 25 cents a glass. She only had 3 customers today, man. All right, so she made 75 cents. Now, you with your $100 billion, you're not satisfied with that. You got to go over there and take that little girl 75 cents that she done worked all damn day for just to sell 3 cups of lemonade for 25 cents, bro. This is what this man is doing out here, man. All right, he won't let nobody, survive on their own and make their own things. Like, nah, man. What's my money is my money, and what's your money is my money as well too, man. This is why he heapeth unto him all these different nations, all right, to take their resources and reign over top of these people, man. Put them into captivity, man, to benefit up off of them, all right. Verse 6 says, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long to him that laid it to self with thick clay? All right, hey, how long are you going to, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long are you going to be up in everybody else's spot, stealing all their stuff, man? All right, and it's also devaluing your own currency, man. All right, so when it comes time to certain things in trades and stuff like that, man, how you going to try to stop people from dealing with Russia and financially and things like that when, their money holds more weight than your money at this point in time? Because, wow, you're massive printing, all right, and massive devaluation of your own currency, man. I ultimately bringing it into what the MOTB, but nevertheless, verse 7 says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booty unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land of the city and all that dwell therein. All right, so hey, nevertheless, this is how it's going to all end. These nations are going to wind up lashing out against them, man. All right, they're going to wind up saying, hey, man, we're not going to take this no more, man. We about to just, lash out against your ass, man. All right, now let me go into we're just going to read that in Matthew 24, about, hey, what are the signs of the end? All right, and you're going to hear about wars and rumors of wars and famines. All right, but let me read this actually instead. All right, 2 Ezra 16 and 17, it says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death. All right, so hey, this is the time that's going on. Let me keep reading. It says, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, and the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these things shall come? So hey, man, like I said, the collateral damage, the blowback, of these wars, all right, in these different places, because it's like a collective thing, in the world that we live in now. You have everybody that's pretty much trading or producing certain things and trading them around the globe, so that everybody is pretty much like a fair share. You do a little here, you do a little there. We all do this and we all do that. We all can trade with one another. But hey, you see how if there's just a little bit of a war in the Ukraine and Russia with the wheat, wheat is using a lot of different things to make. All right, the price of that's going to go up, and then also, hey, you got sanctions being put on Russia, all right, on their banks, and then trying to stop the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, all right, which is supplying natural gas to Germany and Europe. All right, well, if they can't get that to heat their cities and things like that, then also, oil prices going up is going to cost you more to ship certain things around the globe. You got no fly zone, or not necessarily no fly zones, but how do you put it? They're averting aircraft to go all the way around certain areas because, hey, there's war going on over there, like commercial and how do you put it? Transport, of goods, not military planes, but when you have cargo planes and things like that, they're averting those planes from going into those areas. All right, what do you think is gonna happen if you have to fly a little bit further? All right, you got to fly a little further out, to be able to get your products, more or less to say, it's gonna cost you even more money. All right, so look, all these things are just running up the price or really devaluing your dollar, your how do I say, your buying power and things like that, man. So, hey, the cost of food, the cost of gas, the cost of living, and all these things are going up. All right, the beginning of famines, man. All right, people are about to start feeling the full force of these things, man. Is the what was it, $130 barrels of oil and things like that, man. All right, and hey, you just think about that as it's more money at the gas pump for you, but hey, everything that's coming in off these ships, all right, and off these planes and things like that, before they hit the shelves and everything else like that, they got to hit a truck first. All right, they got to ride on a truck. Even hell, even your Amazon packages and things like that. All these things need gasoline to get to your front door or for you to be able to get it off the shelf, man. All right, so hey, the price of all these things are starting to go up. So it says the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Behold, famines and plague and tribulation and anguish are sent for scourges for an amendment. But for all these things, they should not turn from their wickedness, nor always be mindful of the scourges. Hey, so ultimately, this should be a time where, these Americans should be boycotting their government. Like, yo, bro, stay away from other people's business, man. Get up out of these other countries and things like that, man. You're having a global effect on everything else, and it's hurting all of us, man. The elites ain't really taking no losses. If anything, they making money in this, man. But the everyday average people, man, are being affected by this. Hey, yeah, you everyday Americans, you're not getting hit with bombs and stuff like that over in the Ukraine and stuff like that. But guess what? When it comes down to the prices that you're paying at the pump and at the grocery store aisle, man, you're gonna start feeling it there, man. All right, so I guess that was pretty much what we can grab on this here. I didn't want to make this too long, but nevertheless, just showing the so-called collateral damage with these things, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord's will and the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah Bahashim Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone that taught us his truth and every will. Salutation and much love for you. I can push in truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.